Today we pause to honor the lives of extraordinary individuals, legends whose light dimmed on June 15th, but whose legacy still shines brightly. From the quiet strength of actors to the mystical presence of spiritual leaders, these are the souls who shaped history, touched hearts, and left the world richer for their time in it. Join us as we pay tribute to those we lost, but never truly said goodbye to. There are voices that we hear once and never forget. And then there are voices like Ella Fitzgerald's, not just heard but felt, deep in the soul. She wasn't born into fame, nor was her path easy. Ella Jane Fitzgerald was born on April 25, 1917, in Newport News, Virginia. After her parents separated, she moved with her mother to Yonkers, New York. Life from the very beginning was full of struggle. Poverty, racial discrimination, and instability marked her childhood. She lost her mother at a young age, which sent her into an emotional tailspin. Forced to live with an abusive stepfather and later placed in reform school, she faced challenges that could have broken anyone. But within this young girl burned something greater, a dream, a gift, and a will to rise. It was a cold night in 1934. Ella, now 17, walked nervously onto the stage of the Apollo Theater in Harlem for amateur night. She had come to dance. But when the moment came, fear took over. Instead of dancing, she did something unexpected. She sang Hoagy Carmichael's Judy. And in that moment, everything changed. The audience, skeptical at first, was spellbound. The judges, blown away. The crowd roared with applause. And just like that, Ella's life had a new direction. She began performing with drummer Chick Webb and his orchestra. Her rendition of A Tisket, A Tasket in 1938 became a massive hit and established her as a national star. After Webb's death, Ella took over the band, a groundbreaking move for a black woman at the time. Throughout the 1940s, Ella's voice became the gold standard in jazz. Her tone was pure, her phrasing was effortless, and her improvisational skill in scat singing was unmatched. With each performance, she wasn't just singing, she was storytelling, inventing, dancing with melody. Her collaboration with jazz giants like Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Count Basie led to timeless recordings. Her songbook series, where she interpreted the works of Cole Porter, the Gershwins, Irving Berlin, and others, became an essential part of the American music canon. Songs like Summertime, Cry Me a River, Cheek to Cheek, and Misty weren't just sung, they were transformed. But Ella was more than just a singer. She was a quiet revolutionary. In an era when racial segregation was the norm, Ella refused to be silenced or sidelined. She faced discrimination head-on, whether it was being denied hotel rooms or performing in segregated venues. But she didn't fight with anger. She fought with excellence. Her talent opened doors that were long shut to black artists, and her grace made her an icon not just of music, but of progress. There's a famous story. Marilyn Monroe personally called the owner of the Macambo nightclub in Hollywood and insisted that if Ella Fitzgerald wasn't allowed to perform, she wouldn't show up. Marilyn used her fame to ensure Ella got the stage she deserved, and Ella never forgot that. She toured the world, becoming a cultural ambassador for the United States. She performed in Europe, Asia, and South America, bringing jazz in America to the global stage. In her later years, Ella battled numerous health issues, including diabetes, which eventually led to the amputation of both legs below the knee. But even when her health declined, her spirit didn't. She gave her final concert at Carnegie Hall in 1991, a stage she had graced 26 times before. Though her voice had softened with age, the love and admiration in the room had only grown stronger. Every note was a goodbye and a thank you. On June 15, 1996, Ella Fitzgerald passed away in her Beverly Hills home. She was 79. The world lost its first lady of song, but what she left behind was more than music. It was inspiration. Ella Fitzgerald is called a legend because she transformed jazz and music itself. She broke records and barriers. She won 13 Grammy Awards, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the National Medal of Arts. She recorded over 200 albums and sold over 40 million records. But above all, she gave the world her heart through her voice. In every phrase, in every riff, she told a story of hope, of loss, of love, of life. She once said, "The only thing better than singing is more singing," and in her case, it was true. To Ella, thank you for the elegance, the courage, the music. You didn't just sing songs, you sang the soul of a generation. You are gone, but never forgotten, because true legends don't die, they echo forever. Every generation has a sound, a voice that defines its rhythm, that captures its hopes and dreams. For millions across America and beyond, that voice belonged to Casey Kasem. A voice that didn't just count down the hits, it counted in the moments of our lives. Kamal Amin Kasem, the world knew him as Casey Kasem, was born on April 27, 1932, in Detroit, Michigan, to Lebanese immigrant parents. As a child growing up in a modest household, young Casey was fascinated by storytelling. He loved radio. He loved voices. He was drawn to the power of sound and how it could make people feel seen and connected. After studying at Wayne State University and serving in the U.S. Army during the Korean War, Casey began his career as a DJ at small radio stations around the country. But it wasn't long before his talent and his distinct, emotionally resonant voice would take him higher. In 1970, he created something revolutionary. American Top 40. It wasn't just a countdown show, it was a storytelling session. Casey didn't just list songs, he told the stories behind them. The artists, the lyrics, the fans. He made it personal. From the 1970s through the 1990s, Casey Kasem's voice became a fixture in homes, cars, and hearts. His signature opening, "I'm Casey Kasem, and we're counting down the hits," and his legendary sign-off, "Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars," became iconic. He played the songs people loved, but more importantly, he made listeners feel loved. With his long-distance dedications, he gave ordinary people a place to share their stories, heartbreaks, triumphs, reunions, all through music. He was America's DJ, a trusted voice, a friend in the speaker, but Casey wasn't just a radio legend. He was also a beloved voice actor. To generations of kids, he was none other than Shaggy Rogers from Scooby-Doo. With his unforgettable catchphrase, "Zoinks," he brought joy and laughter to millions. He also voiced characters in Transformers, Batman, and dozens of animated classics. Despite his fame, Casey was known for being humble, kind, and fiercely principled. He was a vegetarian, an animal rights activist, and someone who walked away from projects when he felt they didn't align with his values. Casey Kasem was more than an entertainer. He was a cultural bridge, a Lebanese American who found his way into the hearts of every kind of listener. He helped shape the sound of radio as we know it today. His format is still used in shows around the world. His countdowns were not just about numbers, they were about memories. When he told a story, you believed it. When he introduced a song, it meant something. On June 15, 2014, the world lost the voice that had guided it for over 4 decades. Casey Kasem passed away at the age of 82. His last years were marked by health issues and a painful family dispute. But those final chapters could never overshadow the chapters he helped write in our lives. Casey Kasem is called a legend because he shaped how the world listened to music. He gave emotion to the radio. He made countdowns poetic. He turned Top 40 into a storytelling art. He is remembered not only as a radio icon and voice actor, but as a man who always signed off with love, hope, and encouragement. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. He didn't just say it, he lived it. To Casey Kasem, thank you for the stories, thank you for the songs, thank you for being the voice behind the music and the heartbeat behind the hits. The countdown is over, Casey, but your echo plays on forever.
Hello, everybody. This is Casey Kasem inviting you to join me this coming weekend for the premiere of Casey's Top 40. I'll be counting down the 40 biggest hits in the USA with all the stories behind those hits. And of course, I'll be reading your requests and dedications. So plan to join me right here this weekend for Casey's Top 40.
In the vast timeline of American history, there are leaders who dream big, and then there are leaders who do big. Among the most transformative, yet often overlooked, stands the 11th President of the United States, James Knox Polk. A man of determination, discipline, and relentless vision, Polk served just one term. But in those 4 short years, he changed the face of the United States forever. James K. Polk was born on November 2, 1795, in a log cabin in Pineville, North Carolina. The oldest of 10 children, Polk grew up in a frontier family that valued education and hard work. Plagued by poor health as a boy, he underwent a painful surgery at 17 without anesthesia, a testament to the grit that would define his life. He graduated with honors from the University of North Carolina, studied law, and quickly entered the political arena in Tennessee, mentored by none other than Andrew Jackson. Polk served in the U.S. House of Representatives for 14 years, including 4 as Speaker of the House, a role few presidents have ever held. Later, he became governor of Tennessee, though not without political challenges. His style was methodical, serious, and deeply committed to democratic principles of the time: states' rights, expansion, and fiscal conservatism. The Reluctant President, 1844 election. In 1844, the Democratic Party was deeply divided. Polk was not the first choice, or even the second, but in a stunning turn of events, he became the party's dark horse nominee. With the rallying cry of 5440 or fight, a reference to the northern boundary of Oregon, Polk campaigned for territorial expansion, the annexation of Texas, and the acquisition of California in the Oregon Territory. He promised to serve only one term, and he meant it. In just 4 years, James K. Polk accomplished more than many do in 8. Annexed Texas, setting the stage for war with Mexico. Oversaw the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848, which led to the U.S. acquiring modern-day California, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. Settled the Oregon boundary dispute with Britain, securing the Pacific Northwest. Re-established the independent treasury system, separating government finances from private banks. Reduced tariffs through the Walker Tariff, stimulating trade. By the end of his term, Polk had expanded the United States by over 1.2 million square miles. But expansion came at a cost. The land gains reopened fierce debates about slavery, setting the stage for the Civil War. Critics argued that Polk provoked the war with Mexico, while supporters praised his unwavering resolve. Regardless of where one stands, it is undeniable. He reshaped the map of America. Polk kept his promise. He served only one term. After leaving office in March 1849, he retired to his new home in Nashville. But his time in retirement was tragically short. Exhausted from the demands of the presidency, Polk died of cholera on June 15, 1849, just 103 days after leaving office. He was only 53 years old, the youngest ex-president to die. James K. Polk is remembered as one of the most effective one-term presidents in U.S. history. His administration defined manifest destiny, the belief that the United States was destined to expand across North America. Though his name is not as famous as Lincoln or Washington, Polk's decisions had lasting consequences, both celebrated and controversial. He was a doer, not a dreamer. He set goals and achieved every one of them. He didn't crave power, he craved progress. To James K. Polk, the reluctant candidate, the determined reformer, and the president who expanded a nation, we remember your resolve. You left the White House with no plans to return, only the hope that your country would move forward. You didn't live to see the impact of your actions, but we do. Your legacy is etched into every border, every state, and every chapter of American growth. And though your term was brief, your mark was permanent. United States James K. Polk, the president who got things done. In the shifting sands of 20th century American politics, few figures walked a path as complex and compelling as John Bowdoin Connolly Jr. A man of great presence, power, and paradox, Connolly's life intersected with war, tragedy, and the highest offices of state. John Connolly Jr. was born on February 27, 1917, near Floresville, Texas, the eldest of 7 children in a humble farming family. Hardworking and ambitious, Connally graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, where he studied law and rubbed shoulders with future political powerhouses like Lyndon B. Johnson. When World War II erupted, Connally enlisted in the United States Navy, serving in the South Pacific and earning a Bronze Star for valor. The war forged in him a deep sense of patriotism and purpose. After the war, Connally became an advisor and speechwriter for Lyndon Johnson, helping shape his image and policy. He soon gained a reputation as a skilled strategist and communicator. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy appointed him as Secretary of the Navy, marking the beginning of his national political journey. Connally was elected the 39th governor of Texas, where he led the state during a period of massive economic growth, educational reform, and infrastructure development. His tenure was marked by his commanding leadership style and his vision for a modernized Texas. But it was during this time that Connally became part of one of America's darkest days. Connally was in the car with President John F. Kennedy in Dallas, Texas, when the president was assassinated. Connally himself was seriously wounded, struck by a bullet that shattered his ribs, wrist, and thigh. Lying in the hospital bed, Connally reflected, "There was a third shot. The president never heard it. He never felt it. He survived, but the trauma never left him." Connally was in the car with President John F. Kennedy in Dallas, Texas, when the president was assassinated. Connally himself was seriously wounded, struck by a bullet that shattered his ribs, wrist, and thigh. Lying in the hospital bed, Connally reflected, "There was a third shot. The president never heard it. He never felt it. He survived, but the trauma never left him." John Connally is remembered as a survivor, a statesman, and a symbol of transformation. He represented the complex shifts in American politics. A Texas Democrat turned Republican, a war hero turned cabinet member, a public servant caught in tragedy, yet ever resilient. Connally faced legal and financial challenges later in life, but he never ceased to engage in public discourse. He passed away on June 15, 1993, at the age of 76 from pulmonary fibrosis. His legacy lives in the halls of Texas politics, in the Treasury's history books, and in the memory of a nation shaped by both triumph and sorrow. To John Connally Jr., a man of action, courage, and complexity. You bore wounds not only on your body, but on your spirit. And still, you stood. In war, you fought for your country. In tragedy, you became part of history. In politics, you challenged the rules and rewrote your path. Your voice, your will, and your witness to history will never be forgotten. United States John Connally Jr., the man who rode through history and lived to tell the tale. Some make us laugh, some make us think. But a rare few, like Bill Dana, do both, with heart, with humor, and with a voice you'll never forget. A writer, performer, and cultural icon, Bill Dana brought joy to generations, often with just one phrase, "My name, Jose Jimenez." Bill Dana was born William Shathmary on October 5, 1924, in Brooklyn, New York. The youngest of 6 children in a Hungarian Jewish family, Dana grew up during the Great Depression, a childhood that taught him resilience and the value of laughter. After serving in the U.S. Army in World War II, Dana studied at Emerson College and began working as a page at NBC. But it was behind the scenes in the writer's room where his brilliance began to shine. In the 1950s, Bill Dana became one of the top comedy writers in the country, writing for The Steve Allen Show and creating routines for stars like Don Adams and Joey Bishop. But he wasn't content with staying off camera for long. In 1959, Bill Dana introduced the world to a lovable, bumbling astronaut with a thick accent and pure heart. My name, Jose Jimenez. The character Jose Jimenez became a national sensation, appearing on The Ed Sullivan Show, The Tonight Show, and Dana's own Bill Dana Show. Even NASA astronauts loved him, calling Jose their unofficial mascot during the Mercury missions. Bill Dana, in his own comedic way, helped America laugh its way into the space age. While Jose brought fame, Dana was deeply aware of the cultural responsibility he carried. As times changed and concerns about Latino representation grew, Dana retired the character in 1970. with respect and grace. He later said, "If Jose was going to be misunderstood, I didn't want to do it anymore." That integrity only deepened the respect his peers had for him. Bill Dana was more than Jose. He was a gifted writer, scripting iconic episodes like Sammy's Visit for All in the Family, and guest starring in countless TV shows from Batman to The Golden Girls. He was a tireless advocate for writers' rights and diversity in comedy, and a mentor to generations of young comedians. Bill Dana is called a legend, not just because he made people laugh, but because he made comedy smarter, sweeter, and more humane. He proved that humor could explore culture, identity, and progress without cruelty. His work crossed boundaries while building bridges. He was, in every sense, a comedian with a conscience. Bill Dana passed away peacefully on June 15, 2017, at the age of 92. Though his voice has faded from the airwaves, his spirit echoes in every comedian who dares to be kind, every punchline that respects, every character who reminds us of ourselves. To Bill Dana, thank you for the jokes that made us laugh, the characters who made us feel, and the wisdom that made us think. You spoke through smiles, you lived with heart, and you gave comedy a soul. Bill Dana, the man who said, "My name is Jose Jimenez," but whose legacy says so much more. In the golden glow of classic television, where stories of hope and hardship filled American living rooms, one man stood tall, both literally and emotionally. That man was Victor French, actor, director, and a heart behind some of TV's most beloved stories. Victor Edwin French was born on December 4, 1934, in Santa Barbara, California, into a family already steeped in Hollywood tradition. His father, Ted French, was a stuntman and actor, and young Victor quickly followed in his footsteps. A former college football player with a towering frame and kind eyes, Victor brought strength and softness to every role he played. Victor started with tough guy roles, gangsters, cowboys, and criminals, on shows like Gunsmoke and Bonanza. But there was always something deeper behind his performances, an unexpected vulnerability. His gruff voice and rugged look often masked the sensitivity he brought to each character. Victor French's legacy was cemented with two unforgettable roles. One, Isaiah Edwards on Little House on the Prairie, the loyal friend with a wild past and a tender heart. Mark Gordon on Highway to Heaven, a former cop walking the earth with an angel to help those in need. Both shows were created by and co-starred Michael Landon, Victor's closest friend. Together they brought hope, healing, and honesty to television. Behind the scenes, French was also a talented director, helming multiple episodes of both shows and others, including Gunsmoke and Dallas. Victor was known as a gentle soul, a generous friend, and a quiet craftsman of his art. He valued honesty, hard work, and never sought the spotlight, only the truth in his characters. He believed in the redemptive power of storytelling. His performances weren't just acting, they were acts of empathy. Victor French is remembered not for being the loudest or the flashiest, but for being genuine. He brought emotional depth to family television. He made us feel the weight of loss, the joy of friendship, and the hope of second chances. He was a man of the people, portraying working-class characters with authenticity and compassion. Victor French passed away on June 15, 1989, at just 54 years old after a battle with lung cancer. His death was a profound loss, not just to the entertainment world, but to everyone who had been touched by the warmth of his performances. To Victor French, the friend we always wished we had, the guardian angel with a badge, the man who could cry on screen and make us cry with him. Thank you for the stories, the heart, and the humanity. You may have walked off the set, but you'll never walk out of our hearts. Victor French, the gentle giant who made television feel like home. In the heart of the French Quarter, where jazz floats on warm air and secrets linger in the moss-covered cemeteries, there lived a woman both feared and revered. Her name was Marie Laveau, the legendary voodoo queen of New Orleans. Marie Laveau was born in 1801 in New Orleans, Louisiana, during a time when cultures collided, African, French, Spanish, and Creole, in a city unlike any other. She was a free woman of color, of African, Native American, and Creole descent. Her identity was complex, just like the city she would come to rule spiritually. Marie Laveau began her journey as a hairdresser, serving the elite of New Orleans. But behind the scenes, she was becoming a powerful voodoo priestess, blending Catholic imagery with African spiritual traditions. She was not just a mystic, she was a healer, midwife, counselor, and protector of her people. With her commanding presence, sacred rituals, and deep connection to the spirit world, she became the face of voodoo in the South. Unlike the myths and stereotypes that would follow her, Marie was known for compassion and charity. She prayed with the poor, she visited prisoners, she helped slaves gain freedom and guided the sick through healing rites. People came to her not just for magic, but for justice, for mercy, and for hope. She became so respected, even the city's political and business elite came seeking her counsel. Marie Laveau is called a legend because she transcended fear and became a symbol of power, especially for Black women and the marginalized. She walked between worlds, African and European, sacred and secular, mystical and practical. Her legacy lives not just in ghost stories, but in the very soul of New Orleans. Her grave in St. Louis Cemetery, Number 1, remains a site of pilgrimage, where visitors leave offerings and mark her tomb with triple X's, seeking her blessing even today. Marie Laveau passed away on June 15, 1881, at the age of 80. Or did she? Some say she never died, that she simply became spirit, watching over the Crescent City with her head wrap and her knowing smile. Her daughter, also named Marie, carried on her rituals, and legends blurred with reality. To Marie Laveau, the woman who turned prayer into power, the mother of mystery, healing, and protection, a queen in life and a guardian in death. You reminded us that power is not always loud. It can be whispered in spells, sung in hymns, and carried in love. Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen who still walks the streets of New Orleans, in spirit, in story, and in soul. Though June 15 marks the day they left us, it will forever stand as a reminder of what they gave us. Stories, strength, wisdom, and wonder. Legends never die. They live in the echoes of applause, in the prayers whispered at dusk, in every frame, every line, every memory. To the legends of June 15th, thank you. You may be gone from this world, but you will always live in our hearts.